I was you little bot.
What?
No one heard what you said because you was talking too fast.
I don't know, sir.
You don't know. You don't know because only I know.
Don't care how I want it now.
Beep, beep. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Heroes Peak podcast. And that spoiler warning is to tell you that we're doing a spoiler review for Superman Red Sun, the animated DC full-length feature. Today with me, I have James. How you doing, James?
Hey, man. It's been a while. Hello, everyone. Hello, Chris.
And we have a special guest today, Eric. How you doing, Eric?
Pretty good.
Good, good. So, Red Sun just came out this year, 2020. What if baby Kal-El's rocket landed not in Kansas, but in the Soviet Union? That is the premise of the Elseworlds tale from the DC Comics. So this is based on a graphic novel, graphic novel by Mark Millar. Miller? What do you call it? David Johnson, Killian Plunkett. We have starring Jason Isaacs as Superman, with a nice thick Russian accent. Amy Acker as Lois Lane, and Diedrich Bader as Lex Luthor. I am not pronouncing very well tonight. And Vanessa Marshall as Wonder Woman, and a lot of other great cast. So we're just going to do a chat about how we felt about this movie, especially in these times. Interesting take on the Superman mythos, and kind of the question of not what happens if Superman lands in Russia as much as is Superman good or was he raised good, kind of, right?
Right.
I mean, am I the only one who got that? I'm sure I'm not. I'm not really that special. All right, so why don't you guys give me your general take on what you thought about this action adventure?
Thanks, Chris. This was a recommended flick from one of our own, Mike, here at our Heroes Peak podcast,
Who unfortunately is not
who is
not
currently
with us
not
today.
on. Funny as usual. So I approached it with cautious optimism, and but before I actually watched it, I wanted to get my son's take on it too, since he's him and we've been really stalwart fans of the DC animated lineup. 'Cause in our opinion, it actually does far more than the Marvel animated movies and features that we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years together.
Agreed.
So we made sure we scheduled a weekend. We sat down, we plopped it in, courtesy of Mike. We took a peek, and I think we're pleasantly surprised. I'm not going to say it wowed the heck out of me as like Wonder Woman Bloodlines or any of their previous animated movies, but it definitely was enjoyable. I thought some of the content was a little bit adult. I had to explain to my son what the hell was the Cold War about, post World War II, all that stuff, the gulags in Russia. But I really like the fact that they twisted a couple things on us. Lex Luthor character, Lois Lane, obviously Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. And they took us through different time periods. So I thought it was enjoyable. Again, I wouldn't give it like an A or even like a B plus. I definitely give it a solid B. I like to see DC do, other things like this, like the Elseworlds or What If, similar type scenarios with some of the other major actors in the DC universe. But that's my take. What about you, Eric? What's your take?
I really enjoyed it. Just that some things I didn't really like the animation. Some animations weren't looking that good, like they could have been improved or better. And pretty much same thing as James.
So what was your top part of it, Eric? Was it a character, a storyline? What was your favorite piece of the movie?
My favorite character was Brainiac when
Nice.
he tricked Lex Luthor. I mean, not Lex Luthor, sorry. Superman, and he tried killing Superman, but then Superman in the end wins, but also dies.
Yeah, it was an interesting long-term play that I think unexpected of the normal Brainiac character move. I guess I'll mind if I do my general take here.
We haven't gone into like actual plot and everything.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go into that in a second. I just want to say, in general, I found this a really compelling movie. We've seen, like you said, James. DC does a lot of great animated movies. They put a lot of obviously a lot of time and effort into these, and it really comes through. And of course, a lot of these are based off of their best-selling uh, books, best-selling graphic novels or comics. So they kind of have everything lined up where they want to go. But I thought the whole idea sounded at first like it was kind of silly, and I wasn't really all that interested. But they didn't just change Superman. They took and they changed the world around him and how that ripple effect occurred. And I thought that was a lot more interesting. Even the Wonder Woman still felt like Wonder Woman, but her different reaction to the way the world is made sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The only thing I really didn't land with me was the whole Lex Luthor and Lois Lane bit.
agreed. So far, we're neck and neck here. We're not done.
Right. And probably the biggest surprise for me was the Batman section.
Ah, okay.
So, what was your guys' biggest surprise watching this?
My biggest surprise was when, for some reason, Batman committed suicide.
Yeah, so we're right on the same page. What about you, James?
It left it ambiguous on why, although you could I don't know, you can kind of allude to it based on what they give us from from the movie, but you had to jump a lot of conclusions why this was the best outcome for a man that's known to weigh in everything.
I've lost you there in that last section, James.
I was just saying you had to jump to a lot of conclusions to automatically assume that a person like Batman, no matter what universe, whether it be the Russian verse or the
Mm-hmm.
Americana version, can just take his life like that, and that would be the best option.
Right, because the character has always been about doing whatever he can to fulfill his goals, and that didn't seem to fulfill any goal that character was looking for. So yeah, I found that a bit weird. All right, well, why don't we get into the kind of overall storyline here, and we'll get back to the Batman bit, as we were all surprised at it. So it starts off and Superman's little kid is a kid, and basically it shows that from the beginning he's kind of a pacifist. He doesn't want to fight the kids that he could easily beat up. Um, so I think right there they kind of set the tone for the Superman you should expect in this universe, and not some violent gulag, uh, you know, driven guy. I don't know how to put that, but so I thought that was an interesting way to start. It was almost Kansas like the scene that they put him in
I
with
was
the
gonna say
tractor.
it didn't deviate much from what we've seen all the different variations of Clark growing up, other than the fact that it wasn't like an American farm; it was a Russian
Hmm.
farmland. It's only different.
Right, and they didn't show his parents at all either. So you just basically you're using your history of Superman and you're assuming his parents are almost identical, but with a Russian accent. I mean,
Correct.
that's what it felt like to me when the fact that they didn't show him and that Superman kind of at that age Kal-El was still the same, quote unquote, the same character.
Correct.
So then you kind of get to this point where the girl that's with him tells him that for the good of the country, that he needs to show everybody what he can do, and that right there, I think, is the big shift between our original version, which is his parents kind of protecting him and telling him eventually he will do good and he can help people, but he should kind of protect himself.
Yeah, especially the recent variation of Man of Steel. Correct.
And then whereas this one, you have what is a very different view of the world, and that's where we start to see our takes on almost the very political take on what is communism versus capitalism. Telling Superman he has to use his powers for the good of the state and all of the people, versus he really needs to kind of be a little selfish even when he helps people. he should hide his identity and blah blah blah.
Yeah, that was basically to me at that point. That was the split in the road between the traditional, Kal El Superman thrown through the American eyes versus the Red Sun. Given
Mm-hmm.
that the fact that the Soviet Union at the time, post Stalin, basically it's a socialist republic that's forming the socialism and communism to be, and the fact that Kal El now is growing through that society, and of course he would learn the doctrines of that society, and of course he would think of not of himself but of the greater good of the country first.
Right. And here we have a kind of a time jump where it immediately moves to Kal-El being Superman and being fully formed, meeting with Stalin himself about. I'm trying to remember if there was a section before the dam. Because
No,
it moved.
that was it. That was it. You're right
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, because it moved really quickly. That
In the beginning,
another
definitely.
another surprising to me because I expected this kind of long wind up to him becoming this Superman, and they didn't. They just jumped right into him being fully formed, but his ideal is a slightly different ideal.
They also
So
didn't show him have any sort of real villain, you know, up until
yeah,
the final act.
yeah, this was definitely a politics versus politics villain versus a superhero versus supervillain type thing.
Yeah,
So, so Superman is seen with Stalin, and he's telling him he's great, doing great things for his country. And Superman is at the christening of this dam, and Stalin basically says the people did great work, but we couldn't have done it without Superman. And then Superman gets up and goes, "No, it was definitely all of the people's work." He doesn't really want any of the credit. I mean,
correct.
he's taking the full on everybody's equal part of the communist ideal to heart.
Which is the funny thing that I noticed during that speech is you can kind of look back at our version of Superman and say, "Hey, he's not really. I mean, yes, he's very gracious in what he does, and he's always thinking of the little people, but he's never really given out credit, except for here and there, to like the firefighters or the rescue services that are there. When he rescues someone, he just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like up and away, and he's out of there. Whereas this Superman takes time and gives
Mm-hmm.
credit to the little guy, the little person that's helping in the same scenario, which I thought again, not looking at the Russian propaganda was like a a different version of Superman that may be a little more altruistic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as we know, Superman kind of lives with the people and wants to be human in most all of his iterations, but this is a little bit different. I think he doesn't see himself as above the fold, at least yet.
Not yet,
It
yeah,
kind
yeah,
yeah, he kind of moves that way. But this kind of reminds me, like, remember in Superman? I think it was Superman 3, the one with the nuclear weapons
yeah.
movie,
No, that's
and
Superman 4. It's Superman 4.
4, and he gives the speech about removing all of the nukes from the Earth, and he's gonna basically because he's doing something no one else can do. It just made me think of that kind of American Superman where he's got to do certain things and just do what others can't. Whereas this, he's helping people do what they already can.
Yeah,
So, all right, so we take this spot, and next thing we know, we jump over to America and we see our first introduction to Lex Luthor and Lois Lane. And they are a couple, which that's the first thing. It was kind of like, oh, okay, I'll go along with this, even though it didn't feel quite right. And
not
so,
at all. No
right,
matter what you tell me, it never felt right from beginning to end. But go ahead.
right. Well, Lex Luthor is like this genius inventor, American, not philanthropist. That's the word, not the word I'm looking for. Industrialist. That's the word I'm there. So, we're looking at the in that time of the world. It's definitely an industrialist, the rich guy, and he works directly with the government to do his own stuff, and kind of has more control because he's got the money and the means, right?
Yeah. But do you get the sense that he's doing this to become a benevolent, person, or he's doing it just for the accolades and his own, ego?
Yeah, yeah. I had a tough time reading, and I think that was on purpose, because you're used to a certain Lex Luthor, and so every move he made, I questioned. Even his more altruistic moves were I was always questioning everything he was doing.
Yeah. And in the same vein, I was looking at Lois like, wait, how are you in love with this man? Do you know something that we as a viewer don't quite know or have seen yet? Because
Yeah.
this doesn't fit.
Yeah, there's a conversation between those two in a car where he forgets their anniversary again,
Yeah.
and he tells her he's going to have his secretary send her something over later, and it's just this weird like, really, she's going to sit there and take that shit? That's not the Lois Lane I know.
Exactly.
So I think the next big event here is the crashing satellite. So Metropolis, basically, people in Metropolis are looking up in the sky, and a Russian satellite is falling to the Earth, and it looks like it's going to crash into a busy street. When Superman comes flying across the sky, saves the people, and gives them a little speech about, "See, we're not bad. We just want peace, guys. I don't know what you're talking about." And Lois Lane kind of gives him a anti-communist message. I don't even remember what she said to him that got his attention so hard because it really kind of stopped him in his tracks. Do you remember what she said?
It wasn't important enough for me to remember.
Right. Well, what's important about it is it causes him to come back and talk to her alone, and basically those two have a conversation about the differences between what his ideals are and what she thinks what's really happening in his country.
Oh
And
yeah, so she was, I don't know, she was like putting breadcrumbs from him, knowing that he would eventually follow through. But she was saying like, you think all of the Russian people are benefiting from this form of
yes,
government? That's not the case. Check. So I think she had a folder too, if I'm correct.
yeah,
A
yeah.
file.
You find out later that Lex had given her this file to show Superman, which wasn't false information. It actually leads to Superman finding the gulags and releasing the people, which is kind of the next most important part.
And Batman.
And that's what's coming up next, Eric. So, Eric, what year are you in school?
I'm in 5th grade.
Fifth grade. Okay. Have you talked about any American history, or are you just doing world history?
First Explorers.
First explorers. Okay, so you haven't even gotten to any of this Cold War or any of that stuff,
I had to walk him through it while we were watching the movie together.
which I think is an interesting thing for cartoons to do. Is kind of bring up using some realism and kind of pushing people to learn about things that they might otherwise know. I mean, we went through this when we watched The Watchmen, and it started in Tulsa,
Yeah.
and it just kind of brings to light something, and everybody knows about everybody, quote unquote. Most people know about the Cold War, but it just kind of this is giving a perspective on the Cold War that isn't a just straight American anti-Russian perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't recall if Superman Red Sun was rated R or not, but
Mhm.
I know Watch was a little different. So you would imagine in about 2 years' time, we would have already been acclimated to world history, post World War II, et cetera, et cetera.
So the next thing, as Eric said, we get to when Superman enters the gulags and he finds out that Stalin was holding people hostage, basically. A young kid comes out and gets angry at Superman for not saving them earlier, and it's kind of obvious. It's not really they're not trying to hide who it's supposed to be eventually,
I mean, they
because
showed you his dead parents lying
right.
together, and then they show as he was talking, accusing Superman of actually being, part of
Mhm.
this dictatorship and part of the cruelty that exists. And behind him, you see like a whole ceiling of bats.
Oh, see, I didn't even notice that. That's funny.
Yeah, how could you not? It was right there, top of the
Maybe
screen.
subconsciously I just noticed it, and I was like, I just
Talking about
ignored it.
little Batman?
Yeah, Mike, welcome.
Yeah, I noticed that
Oh, there
too.
he is.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm on my mobile device tonight because my PC just wants to be a PC tonight.
That
Wow.
that coronavirus.
Yeah.
Get the corona. Your PC's like, I'm not talking to you. You might have germs.
Yeah, I gotta get some toilet paper for my PC tonight. So
Yeah, but the young, just to stay back on topic, the young Bruce Wayne, he actually made some points. He was like Superman, who we thought could hear anything, could not hear the cries of our people. Um, oh, it was
Lead or
lead. I'm
what?
sorry, lead. He's still here through lead, just can't see through lead.
Well, it depends. Sound waves don't penetrate certain types of things. The reason he sees through stuff is he has to actively try. He's got to use his X-ray vision. So if you put someone in a lead room, their sound waves of them crying is not
All
going to
right,
penetrate.
I'll go check tomorrow with an acoustical engineer and see what he thinks.
That's right.
yeah, there's ways to block sound, right?
Yes, sound
It can
dampening
be done.
devices. Yes, yes, yes. I'm assuming the Russian gulags had that in 19.
Well, let's just put it this way. I think it's just meant as a general, hey, you're part of the state, whether or not you were actively participating, you weren't stopping it. So there's nothing there's nothing Superman is going to be able to say that's going to be like, yo, kid, I was trying. I was building some dams, and what am I supposed to do? Check every inch? You know, there's nothing he can say. But Superman immediately releases everybody and goes, and this was a
Well, hold
shocker
on, hold on.
too.
Before I raise, you forget there was one main character that was revisited.
Oh, the girl. So
Yes.
the girl that told him to use his powers to help the state, he found in the gulags.
Also, Batman, he stayed. I mean, Bruce Wayne. He stayed in the cave. He never leaves.
Oh shoot! I totally missed that too. Wow, I was not paying any attention to Batman. No, that's a good call. That's a good call. Man, they really set that up, and I was just missing it. So yeah, so this girl dies in his arms, and Superman immediately flies over, confronts Stalin, and kills him. So it's kind of a Zack Snyder-y move.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of an interesting dialogue they had for a bit. Like Stalin was trying to tell him everything I did was for the best, betterment of the country. Not, it wasn't for me. It was, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet, like Mike would
Right.
say, this and the third. And then Kal-El was like, "You're right. In order to make this a better country, I gotta break some eggs." And then he basically laser beams him to death.
No, that was great. I did not expect that to happen, and I think that's what's great about these DC stuff is they're really not afraid to go there sometimes if they think they have to. So the next part is a general. I think we go back to Lex Luthor at this. So is this where we see Lex Luthor creating his own?
Bizarro Superman. That's what I called it.
Yeah, so Superior Man is what
Oh,
they end up
yeah,
calling
that's
him.
what it was. Yeah, it was an actual name.
Yeah, Superior Man. Yeah.
So I don't know anything about the technology he was using. It just looked kind of just, hey, big ball of light means power. So it was kind of, it wasn't. I was expecting like some sort of kryptonite they found, but no, it was just a thing.
What do you mean for the cloning process?
Yeah. So
It was a combination of the some sort of genetic material Superman he used, but then they were having some
Yeah.
sort of backup plutonium, whatever it is,
power.
material that was powering him remotely.
Yeah, that's what I found that kind of weird. Like he was trying to push how much power Superior Man had and kind of mutating him while doing it.
Yeah.
We skipped two important parts before we get to Superior Man, and that is Superman spreading the wonders of communism throughout the world. In a series of short bursts where you see him basically fighting wars, and you get a little movie, like a black and white movie reel, where it's like this normally would have taken 3 years, but Superman comes along and ends the war in 3 days, and
That's
now
my boy.
you know so I think they go through the Vietnam conflict or South Korea or
It was
something.
Korea. It was Korea first because it's the 50s.
Right. Okay. So Korea first, and basically Superman is preventing some of the major conflicts that we had seen in that time of history. Um, not bloodless, because they have a conversation where you find out a few. He he's like a few thousand people in exchange for a few million is fine. and he's doing his work. He thinks he's doing the best for the world. And to be honest, the way the movie is showing you, it looks better. So what did you guys think of this section where they kind of show you, how do I want to put
That
it?
the commie take over. That's my dream come
Yeah.
true, man.
Whoa,
right.
whoa, 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 whoa!
Comrade Bernie's almost at where he needs to be to
I
enact our
knew,
great
I
plan.
knew you were gonna say that. Let's keep today's modern day politics out. I think what I did like was the fact that they showed Superman actually engaged with the government and actually taking, in his eyes, taking stand here and there to help better the country. At one
Wait,
point, I think
call
I,
that engaged? I call that tyranny.
tyranny.
That's not engaged.
Is this a part also where Wonder Woman gets introduced, or is that later after he does this
So
whole?
the next is Wonder Woman gets introduced they're at a ball after he's kind of, I think is after. Oh, okay.
Has he
All
already
right.
established the Soviet Union, and he's established, and he's actually inviting all other countries if they want the same.
Okay.
Free,
All right. So after he does his takeover, then we get the Brainiac invasion. So Brainiac comes down, shrinks one of the Russian cities, and Superman basically punches his way through, and then takes Brainiac hostage. Well, he thinks he takes Brainiac hostage and makes him his like butler.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure. This is after he already fought Superior Man, right? Fought and killed him.
No, not yet. Not yet. I'll tell you why. All right. So after he takes Brainiac, then he meets with Wonder Woman because the world leaders are all at the ball that he's hosting. And so all the world leaders are at the ball, and the I think he's the Korean guy says he's scared of Superman,
Yep.
right? And Wonder Woman basically says, "Oh, you're doing a great job. I'm glad we're with you, blah 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 blah." And she takes off, and that's when Superior Man basically comes on down.
Yes,
And
and very American braggadocio.
oh, this was great because Superior Man, the way he said, I'm truth, I'm justice, I'm the American way," and he's like the worst version of that. And
Yes.
it was
Kind of reminded me of another show we watched, The Boys, The Homelander,
it did. It was a Homelander sign.
but just a dumber version.
And so they punch it out, and this is where we see Lex Luthor passing power over to Superior Man, trying to take down Superman, but he can't. Superman basically outguns him, and Superior Man blows up because Lex Luthor fed him too much power that he couldn't take, and that causes Lois Lane to get upset at Lex Luthor.
But then Lex also reveals to her the plan wasn't to take down Superman; it was to test his limits.
Right. So, and that's a classic Lex move. I'm willing to sacrifice this to see what I have to do next.
But it's not obvious in the moment,
Right.
until afterwards.
Mm-hmm. And so after that, I think is that the Green Lantern scene?
No,
Because they found the Green Lantern crashed in America, and Lex cuts his finger off to take the ring.
yeah, that is the scene. You're right.
Okay, I got those mixed up because that's after the Wonder Woman and Batman scene.
Yeah, no. They found the Green Lantern before the Wonder Woman Batman scene, but you don't see the Green Lantern Corps until after that.
Until after. Okay.
Yeah.
So next is where we get the whole Batman Wonder Woman event, right?
Yes. Which I love. My favorite part.
And this is a really interesting scene, because we see Batman as a terrorist. I mean, straight up, he blows up people, buildings all across the city, trying to get Superman's goat.
He also has, like, if I believe, like his own group too, right? Like a bunch of pseudo Batmans.
Yeah, Superman basically runs into a couple of them. Does he say he's not going to kill him? Something to that effect.
Yeah.
So they kind of shortcut this section because Superman finds Batman in the cave where he already has Wonder Woman tied up with her own lasso of truth.
Which in itself is a very good backstory we should have gotten. Like, how the hell that happened?
Right. Well, I mean, it's kind of a classic Wonder Woman, like old-timey Wonder Woman story that she was always getting tied up with her own lasso of truth.
Yeah. Uh,
But she's basically got to sit there while Batman and Superman fight. And Batman, of course, has the ace up his sleeve where he turns the whole cave into a red sun. Beats the crap out of Superman and tosses him in a hole.
That was nice to watch.
All while explaining to him why he's wrong in controlling people.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a Dark Knight Returns, or Batman v Superman, the movie.
Well, I think
yeah.
it's important to mention that at some point, and we probably missed it, that Superman seems to have been lobotomizing some people who are against him. Did
Oh,
you
yes,
guys get
because
that?
that's what he threatens with Batman later on.
Uh-huh. That he's gonna basically a few hours of surgery and you'll be a good soldier or something like that.
Yeah, it's like some kind of brainiac mind device or something.
Yeah, so it takes Wonder Woman deciding she's going to use all her power, break out of the lasso of truth, and destroy the power cell that's running the lamps. Basically turning her hair white. That was an interesting choice.
She claimed that her power stemmed from the lasso of truth, which
Oh,
I have to go
okay.
back and in the Wonder Woman lore in the comics to see if there's ever a version, canon or not, that tied her lasso with her actual God given power. No pun intended. God given powers.
Hmm.
That was the first I heard of that too.
But that's weird because she still had power to lift after she broke it to lift an entire power cell and break it in half.
Correct. And then later on, she was able to hold back
Fly.
Superman's punch.
Right.
Eric said, "Girl power."
Girl power. Worse excuses. Okay. So at this point, this is where Superman flies out, threatens to lobotomize Batman, and he decides to just blow himself up. So this is, as we all said, this is the most surprising section because obviously Batman didn't have a second option.
So Eric, what was your thought? I remember when I watched it with you live, your reaction.
I feel like that he didn't have to kill himself, even though that he was gonna take control over him with Brainiac. He could still like fought back. I didn't really
Yeah.
get like.
Yeah, that's generally would be the Batman move is to say he'd have something to protect his brain from a Brainiac invasion and just let himself get captured. Would be my
This version
classic
of
Batman.
Batman, it seems like this version of Batman. I mean, A had no gadgets. Thank you, Eric. B, he was smart, but not smart to the point where he could prepare for multiple options that would happen. And C,
Hmm.
he was more suicidal than the American version of Batman, perhaps because of his own upbringing. You know, the Soviet upbringing of this Batman
Hmm.
probably left less hope than the American Bruce Wayne upbringing. You know,
Yeah,
it says a lot there.
yeah. That character says a lot more about Batman, or classic Batman, because he's just angry. He's not. He doesn't have. He's not trying to protect something specific. He wants revenge, and he has an idea what he wants to stop Superman from doing, but he beyond that, he's just kind of just wants to hit punch him. Just wants to kill him.
Yeah,
And interesting there was no kryptonite at all in this
yeah, we can't wait.
movie at all. So Wonder Woman flies off. She's pissed at both of the guys, and Superman ends up having to fly out and fight the new Green Lantern Corps. Now this was an interesting thing. Lex Luthor managed to duplicate the Green Lantern ring they found, and created a squadron of flying Green Lanterns.
Green Lantern Corps.
Basically, he kicks the shit out of them for the most part. What did you guys think of this?
There was one moment where it looked like they may have gotten the upper hand when they were able
Uh,
to put him in a cube and
oh, the
start to
multiple
shrink him
cubes.
down. And I didn't
Hmm.
see Superman coming out of that ahead if it wasn't for Wonder Woman intervening.
Yeah, she kind of messed the whole thing up there.
Yeah, they left it hanging. Like, was he gonna figure a way out? Was he gonna break their will? It wasn't clear.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, she comes down and gives him the last ditch option to help everybody and basically connect with his good side and not be a ruler of the earth that he was basically turning into with Brainiac, and he says no. So she just stops his punch. Does she just fly off at that point?
Yeah, right after she made her little speech about men,
Right.
which I mean, she kind of had a point. I'm not gonna say she was
Yeah.
wrong. She definitely had a point, but I don't think she'd have just given, turn her back on all humankind. But
Well, that seems to be what they keep putting the Amazonians kind of they keep doing to them. They keep going, you know what? These people are fucked. Oh, sorry. These people are screwed. We're just gonna let them figure it out. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So here we are. So we gotten past all of the other humans, and Superman decides that the only way he's gonna win is to take over America.
yeah,
that
baby.
that he can't quite break the Americans, that they were he thought they would fail economically and eventually lose faith in capitalism and democracy. But Lex Luthor gets elected president or something
Yep.
and pulls
Jimmy
pulls them
Olsen's the vice president, by the way.
and pulls them out of the ditch. And so Superman says, "You know what? Screw this. I'm going to have to just do this myself."
Yeah, Rocky Four.
Right. So Superman and Brainiac fly over and they're about to confront Lex Luthor on the lawn of the White House. And this is where the nice little twist happens where you discover that Brainiac was actually just using Superman because Superman was allowing him to take over the entire Earth instead of one city.
Correct. But this only was revealed because Lois Lane had a nice little soliloquy to him about the things he's been doing wrong and why it's wrong and why it'll never be actually what he dreams of his perfect state. And that's when
Mm-hmm.
he actually had a moment, of clarity and realized what he was doing wrong. That he was actually being led by someone else. And that's when Brainiac goes, "That she is correct. I am the one. I'm the one pulling the strings." He's like, "What?" That's why I like
Oh
that
man.
twist because it wasn't just like Brainiac just came out and said it. It was the fact that he was doubting what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Lois
Mm-hmm.
actually was talking him through it, and then Brainiac goes, "She's correct."
And then there's a great fight, and this is another thing that surprised me because so Superman starts to fight Brainiac, and then Lex Luthor comes out in his super suit, and I'm like, so what's Lex gonna do? Is Lex gonna try to take on Superman? Is he gonna what's his plans here? And so Lex saves Lois, and then him and Superman fight together to defeat Brainiac. Like Lex has these little devices that allows Superman to get through Brainiac's shields. And then our big climax here is where they Brainiac they think Brainiac's defeated, but he sets off his power core to explode, which is
Doomsday, yeah, the Doomsday device that some villains now always have as a plot device. You kill me, kill yourself.
it's the Palpatine. If you kill me, oh no, that's not the one.
Whoa.
It was three black holes that power his ship or something like that. And so Lex says, Superman, this has to be like 14 million miles away or something like that.
Yeah,
And so Superman decides to sacrifice himself.
yeah. To do what
And
only he can. Remember, we were talking about that earlier. What only
right,
Superman can do.
and jets off into space at full speed, where somewhere doesn't really matter. It's space. It's big. And Lex Luthor wins in a way. He tells Lois that they're going to get married. That was a really weird twist to me.
Yeah, and then he
Kind
steps
of
down as president. That's
right.
another twist.
It was like, wait a minute, what is going on? Is he power hungry or is he not?
That's what
Is,
exactly. I left that scene like, wait, what? Like,
after all of this stuff with the anti Superman, are they trying to make it like, oh, without Superman here, he doesn't care anymore? He's just a normal, really smart human guy and he just wants the best for humanity? Or he has to feel he feels Superman's better than him, so he's got to defeat Superman. I don't know what they're playing out with this Lex Luthor.
I think that after he helped Superman, and then they took down Brainiac. Felt like he doesn't need to be like power hungry anymore. He can just live his life. Well, he wants to get married. That's what I think.
So after Superman leaves, he says he can just live his life now.
Yeah, become a farmer. He's a retired political figure. He can do the speeches, endorse people for running for president. Oh, I forgot Jimmy Olsen, aka Barack Obama's president now.
Right.
Affordable health care for all.
So the only thing pushing Lex forward was Superman. He's comparing
It would
himself to
seem like
Superman
that,
then.
but that just doesn't fulfill that character at all. I mean, I left a little misguided about the character from beginning to end, especially Lois's ties to him.
And at the last second, we see when Lex is stepping down as president, we see a certain newspaper reporter standing, or Lois sees a certain newspaper reporter standing in the crowd, and when she double checks, he's not there anymore. And so you kind of get the hint that yes, he's around, but he is not around.
Yeah,
or hiding. He's in hiding.
that was nice. He adopted
That was a nice
the
little.
American alter ego of Kal-El that we knew, Clark Kent. I don't think he ever went by the name Clark Kent at all.
No,
Superman.
he had a Russian name.
Comrade Superman.
So I think we've all liked most of the DC stuff, and I think this is no different. This definitely is an interesting view. I actually want to get Mike's view here before we finish this review. Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Honestly, what's your review of the movie as a whole? What did you think about it? What did you think of the political leanings? Do you think it was pushing a side, or did you feel it was a really good balance between the politics?
No, I thought it was fine. It was overall a decent movie. Once again, DC animators come up with a better story than I've seen in the DCFU. So, you know, um, as far as the politics and the morals of it, yeah, I could definitely see both sides in the story here. Like, I understand what Red Sun was trying to accomplish, and I just didn't agree with his methodology, right? So,
Yeah, it definitely did more anti-capitalism than I expected it. The whole first half
yeah.
was really from Superman's perspective, and it definitely felt like the Americans were kind of evil.
Yeah, but the thing is, you could see, well, like once again, that the attempts to do it, it just shows how power corrupts. Those who had they
Absolute
all
power.
start out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they start out with the best of ideals, and then they just get corrupted.
Absolute power. Corrupt. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But you could see even Lex wasn't like a noble person in this one. He was all about that power too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and I
and
think they didn't
mhm.
demonize one set. It really, both sides showed their good and bad sections.
Yeah, did you I was asking you the other day, you told me you watched Sonic. Did you see the comparison between this Lex and Robotnik?
I didn't see Sonic.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so the Robotnik.
Yeah.
See, Robotnik's an interesting character in the movie. He was so big, he was a little bit of a Lex Luthor, but he was a lot more of a goofball and
Yeah, no,
showboat.
but you know what I'm talking about is there were certain scenes where Lex was like, "Don't you know I'm the smartest man alive, or I'm a genius, or blah blah blah." You know what I mean? Then I was like, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah."
yeah, they love to do that. It's fun.
Exactly. That's all I mean. Other than that, they're both nuts on different levels.
Yeah, I that was really the only characterization. The two characterizations that were weird, but they fit in the universe were the Batman and the Lex. So before we finish up, let's ask you guys. So, what would you guys like to see next out of the Superman or Batman or any of that stuff? We get a lot of different options with the DC animated. They can go whatever way they want. So, is there anything you guys would like to see out of Superman?
One thing One thing I'd like to see about Superman is maybe more of a plot line, maybe because like at the start as a child, they showed like one scene maybe, and then they just skipped to like a full on like adult,
Smallville movie? Is that what you're talking about?
pretty much.
Oh, that would be interesting. An animated Smallville.
Maybe something like how Marvel does Spider-Man. They're still doing Spider-Man in high school, not an adult yet in the movie. So perhaps the next Superman movie would be Clark Kent still going through, teenage years, and then like the final act, he graduates and becomes a news reporter.
Yeah, they usually end up doing like Superboy for those kind of things. Have they have the superhero girls? That's the kind of it's all the girl superheroes at that age level. They don't really have one for that level for the like Batman Superman
Yeah, I
Trinity.
think that would work definitely in the animated series. I don't know about a full, live action movie yet. I don't think. Sorry, I don't think.
But he's right because Smallville was a fun series.
Yeah,
Um,
series on CW, UPN, whatever it was
yeah,
back then.
absolutely. Do.
But I
I'm
think that'd be a
actually
nice idea for a DC animated Superboy.
let's see here. Justice League action,
Superboy
Green
isn't really
Lantern.
that much of an important character, I would say.
Yeah,
He's like kind of boring. He's pretty much just Superman, except younger.
Yeah.
Because we have the Young Justice, because of the old show, but it talks about Superboy. And
hmm
then we also have where Crisis, where it showed, I think it was Crisis, right? Where it showed Superboy with Crypto. Wait, no, that's
hmm
Titans.
No, that's
Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of the old DC Crypto, the Superdog, Superhero Girls, Static Shock, Batman Beyond. You want kind of like a Batman Beyond for Superman. Do you guys watch Batman Beyond?
yeah, we did.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I think that would work.
I guess the question is because you have Superboy, you have Superman's new son. You'll probably end up getting rather than a Clark Kent, you'll probably end up getting a series about his kid, where Damian Wayne and yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot of good. It's amazing because they have great movies, but they're actually pretty limited here on their animated television shows. Young Justice got canceled. It was a really great show. Justice League has been off the air for years. Brave and the Bold is fun. It's like, where's all the kids Saturday morning level DC animation?
Doesn't exist, unfortunately, except for Teen Titans, which I don't watch. Eric watches.
Well, Teen Titans is like a fun, but it's very just I don't even know what to call it, man.
Eric is nodding at you, shaking his head at you. He enjoys that thoroughly.
Yeah, it's not like a superhero. It's more of a comedy show than a superhero show.
Yeah, I
So,
agree with Chris. Why you walking out? Get back here.
so
he's walked
well, I'm
out the
looking.
podcast room. Now he's back.
So, all right.
Close the door.
So Batman has had actually quite a few good series here. Obviously, the main animated series, but the new animated adventures, the Batman, the 2004 series is good. Batman Beyond, Brave and the Bold. There've been quite a few good
You
Batman
know what's good with
series.
Batman is because
Batman.
it's not just Batman the character, but the Rogues Gallery offer you so many more
That's
options for
true.
stories than Superman.
hmm
Superman just doesn't have the breadth, the catalog.
Yeah.
And Batman has that he's human thing, so you can kind of make everything more challenging, I guess.
True, true.
Oh, so there's one called Legion of Superheroes, 2002 seasons, which looks like a teenage Superman TV show. It's very stylistic, almost Disney style looking animation. I was just looking it up. Legion of Superheroes. I've never watched this. Kind of looks like Kim Possible, actually.
On CW and also Kids WB, which I didn't know we had.
hmm I
They
Uh,
could,
still have that.
yeah. So
dude. I
Eric is
could.
already making fun of the way the animation looks. He's all about animation. Actually,
Yeah,
you
no,
guys would
it,
connect on that stuff.
it's a very interesting style. Like I said, Kim Possible has a very similar, really wide strokes, weird shaped heads
They look
kind of
like
stuff.
emoji characters.
Yeah, a little bit. It's the early 2000s. They were playing with animation styles, but it looks like you can watch them all on the DC Universe website. All the episodes are like right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's not. Obviously didn't go anywhere. So it's just interesting that you're right about the rogues gallery thing, and I think that's where Eric's got a great idea. If you go back to
Eric, hold on. It's pure comedy here. He's making fun of the photo of the poster
uh
of the characters, and he goes, "Oh my, look, it's black lighting, except for he's not black."
huh.
Oh no.
But yeah, if you take Superman back to Smallville and he's not Superman, you can have more interesting adventures than full on Superman, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you made a good point. Smallville is very successful. We're in the age of rebooting and all that stuff. We can, make a TV series or show, animated show featuring Superboy or Clark Kent with powers. And now because the animation is cheaper than the special effects on the show, you can do a lot more.
Well, and the whole discovery of powers things is a good season long. He can't fly, but finds out he can jump, or he all of a sudden has heat vision and all that stuff. Makes for good episodes. So yeah, get on that, DC. Let's get some more Saturday morning.
He's wrecking this poster apart.
So he's used to kind of the more modern. Does he likes the CG animation more than the hand drawn?
CGI can be bad
He
sometimes.
says CGI could be bad sometimes.
Oh, so we're thinking the same way because I completely agree. It's the CGI. I don't like the everyday CGI animation most of the time. I think it's usually pretty weak. Has you ever seen the it's anime style, but it's not anime. It's not from Japan. Called Ruby, RWBY. It's on YouTube by Rooster Teeth. I can't hear you.
He said
I haven't.
he has not.
All right, go watch the first episode of Ruby, RWBY, on YouTube, season 1.
RWBY.
Yeah, RWBY.
You said it's anime, but not anime.
It's not anime because it's not from Japan, but
But it's anime style.
it's CGI animated style. Anime style.
Gotcha.
It's a suggestion for everybody. Go watch it. Season 1 is great.
Yeah, that's why he's recommending it. He has watched.
I've watched. There's one season I haven't watched, and don't worry. There's nothing he not. What am I saying to you? There's nothing he can't watch. That's fine.
You little bot.
No one heard what you said because you was talking too fast. He was plugging his YouTube channel.
Oh,
Slow down,
all right,
Kid
cool.
Flash.
All right. So your YouTube channel, I have it written down here, is TTV Pineapple, right?
Yeah, I think pineapples with a Z.
TTV Pineapples with a Z.
Yeah, should be that.
Go check out Eric's YouTube channel, guys. Subscribe. Give us 5 stars. Subscribe to him.
Also, subscribe to our channel too.
That's right. Subscribe to us.
Yeah, might as well. Might as well.
Might as well. But your kid's sitting at home. I have to go drive and pick my kids up from work. So
Wow.
we're gonna be shutting this one down for the night. I'm glad we got to record and talk about Superman Red Son. I liked it. It was fun.
I did. Mike, by the way, thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. No worries. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Justice League Apocalypse War. You guys saw the
Oh,
trailer for
yeah.
that, right?
Thank you for putting that on my radar.
Yeah.
Well,
Very
we'll have to
good.
bring Paige in on the next one. I think she loves this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for joining me.
All right, thanks.
You too, fellas.
Good night,
Night.
everybody. Night.
Take care.